Hey, welcome to the New Hope Leadership Transition Podcast. My name is Josh Hunt, and I'm the Community and Missions Pastor here at New Hope Church in Wylie, Texas. Our church is going through its biggest leadership transition in its 26-year history. Our founding pastor, Keith Spurgin, is stepping back and making space for the next generation of leaders to step forward. So we wanted to bring you guys along the process, show how we got to where we are, where we're going in the future, and all the circumstances surrounding that. We're hoping it'll help other church leaders, other organizational leaders, and our church to kind of know what's going on. We're going to have multiple episodes coming up, interviewing lots of people that have been along in that process. So we hope you guys will subscribe and follow along. Make sure to ask any questions down in the comments, and we hope this will help you. So let's jump into it.
Get strong.
Welcome back to the New Hope Leadership Transition Podcast. Got Keith Spurgin, our founding pastor, with us again for the third episode, and we've got Natalie Tillett with us. And Natalie is our administrative and next-gen pastor now. And so, we are in this process of going through this transition that we're going through. So we're going through a big leadership transition throughout this year in November.
Small.
No big deal.
In November, Keith is going to be stepping down as lead pastor, and this team that we have developed is going to be stepping in to help fill that space. And so Natalie's a part of that team, and so really important to bring her on. I know lots of y'all have been asking, where's Natalie in these episodes? We can only fit so many people in our space, but super excited to have you here with us. Because you're a major part of this process, and it's really important to hear your story. And so, I thought this would be a great time to hear some of your story. And so for people that don't know, tell us something about yourself and how you came to New Hope and all that.
Yeah, so Michael and I got here in 2011. We actually came as visitors when New Hope was at Birmingham, and then we moved a couple hours away for a few years due to one of his jobs. And so when we came back, we started it, just looking and finding a place, and ended up here in 2011. And we were trying our best to make it, but we were a hot mess. Our marriage was rocky, and we were struggling to be parents and good spouses, and I had a lot of work to do, he had a lot of work to do, and we just came in like a freight train looking for some better way to do our life, honestly. And New Hope was this breath of fresh air. It was unlike any church I had ever been a part of. I had been in church most of my life growing up, and New Hope was just different and welcoming and just felt like home. And for Michael, it was the first place where he felt comfortable just being who he was. And so we both had a lot of leaning in and growing to do, and people here just kind of tucked us under their wing. And Keith helped me a whole lot with boundaries and loving on me in all of my mess and dysfunction. And lots of people here just really dove in and dug in deep with Michael and I and helped us to grow and lean into everything God was calling us to be. And so we've just kind of been leaning in this whole time and watching God do all the amazing things that he does when you let him. And and so then...
And I just want to say, Natalie, you've been one of those people from day one, it seems like, who has leaned into your own growth and said, okay, whatever I got to do to get better, whatever I got to do to be more like Jesus, it's been pretty phenomenal to watch you.
Thank you. There's something when you realize that you are the obstacle, that you've been trying to figure out what the obstacle was, and then you're like, oh, wait, it's me? Oh, okay, well, I better do something about that,
Yeah.
And so...
It's a lot easier to blame somebody else.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot easier, but it doesn't fix anything.
Nope.
So when you're willing to actually take yourself out of it and go, okay, this is what I can work on, then God just does what he does and makes it all better. So makes you want to lean in even more, and then help other people do the same thing. So and so then 2018, fast forward to there, well, I guess before then, I started engaging in mission trips and led some teams to Thailand and all of that, and just really my heart for just ministry and loving on people and leading people and all of that was growing. And I came on staff in 2018 when they had a part-time admin position open up, and I was part-time admin for kids ministry, which I had been serving in since we got here in 2011. And so I got to be admin for the current kids pastor then, and admin for Lynn and all of her things. And so just kind of tried this new thing, and and then in 2020,
when we finally figured out that you were actually running kids ministry
for years.
We all got sent home, and during COVID and all of that, and so I was given the opportunity to lead kids ministry in interim and just have full reign to just go after it. And so I just jumped in with all cylinders firing, just doing the thing. And I really felt like at 42, I finally figured out what I'm here for, what I'm designed for. Like, this is the thing, I had always worked with younger people in the younger generation, with the next generation, with kids and all of that. And I was good with kids, and in every different area you could think of in the world, I would place myself in situations where I could learn and teach littles and help them be better people. And so when I got here, I just was like, this is it. This is what I was designed to do. Okay, so I just kind of put the blinders on and just went for it, and have really dedicated the last 5 years of my life to that, and loving it, and just, getting used to the fact that I'm good with big people too. Like, I'm okay with big people too, and learning to lead big people and adults, and loving on my team and building the team, and just learning and growing and depending on God to get through the next step. So it's been a long journey of that.
So in 2023, Lynn went on sabbatical. I think it was like August of 2023, and so at that time, it left Keith and Jake as part of the core pastors team. So Keith, Jake, and Lynn had been meeting as a team and really kind of helping to be the spearhead for New Hope and the things that are happening here. And so that left a space there where you and Jake ended up asking me and Natalie to come on to the core pastors team. So the four of us would meet once a week and really kind of process, big ideas and big decisions that were going on here at New Hope, and so both of us kind of joined at the same time and kind of, drinking from a fire hose and lots of stuff. We're like, what do we get ourselves into? But it was really great, and so that kind of gave some space there to really get to see Natalie working in a whole new way, and where you really stepped up to these new responsibilities. And you were the kids pastor, but you were definitely tracking. We talked about, like, Natalie's one of these people that tracks like a 6-lane highway where everybody else is on a little 2-lane back road, and she's always thinking about the exits and entrances and all of the things. And it just became really apparent that you carry this place in your heart and in your mind in such a different way than most people do, and that you have the skills to really just be an amazing leader and just see New Hope, in that 6-lane highway, and kind of where we're going, where we've been, and all of that stuff. So it's really cool getting to know you in that time and work with you and see just how you operate. And it's really cool. So So then in fall of 2024, in the first 2 episodes, and if you missed any of those, go back and check those out. But we talked about how in fall of 2024, the elder team came to this decision that we're going to do this transition, that I was going to be the next lead pastor. But as we were processing that, we definitely kept coming back to this idea of a team. Could it be a team that's really stepping in to fill the gap of a founding pastor that is leaving? going through and hearing from Chris Turner and others like that have really studied these type of things, that this is a real great way to do this. But there has to be somebody at the point. We even talked about, well, is it just a team? So we do have to have somebody at the point. So that's what I'm stepping into. But this team to really kind of step forward and help lead New Hope into the future. And that's kind of where we landed at. And we came and asked Natalie to be a part of that. But in that, there were some tensions, even leading up to that asking, because we're in our core pastors meeting and we're in there talking and we're kind of, but there's things like you would catch us kind of cutting ourselves short because it's something that we talked about in elder team, but you weren't a part of the elder team at that time. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you processed that and how it was?
Yeah, definitely. So it was one of those, like, I was so, back when we got invited to the team, I was like, oh, okay, I feel really honored to, like, be a part of this team, and they want to hear what I'm seeing and what I'm tracking, and that had been one of those things that I feel like Lynn had helped me develop. Even I would go and say, hey, I'm seeing this, and I know it's not kids ministry, and she'd be like, always, please bring those things to me, and so she would always encourage me to do those type of things. And so I was really excited to be a part of the team and just learn and grow. And like you said, Keith, that's kind of my thing. I always like to be learning new things and growing. And what's the point if you're not learning and growing, And so it was great. But the longer it went on, it was like, okay, I was openly encouraged all the time. Hey, we want you on this team. We want to hear your voice. We want to see what you're hearing. And we want to hear what you're tracking and all the things. And so I would share those things, and it would be great, and they would be taken account for, and, all of that, and heard well. But then there wasn't as much movement, and there was this hesitancy that I would pick up on between the three of you. And so then I'd be like, okay, is it me? Is it they want to hear it, but they don't really want to hear it? But I couldn't really figure it out. And so usually what I do in those situations is I just kind of observe for a while and try to assess the situation, and and so I wasn't really sure what was happening, or I could tell that I didn't know all the things, and rightly so, because there's other teams that I'm not a part of, and that's how organizations work, and there's a time and a place for things. And so I was good with that part, but it was hard to be on the team and not know everything everybody else in the room knew, because then I was constantly feeling like, why am I here? And why am I sharing what I'm sharing if we're not going to be having any movement, and we're not saying, we're saying, okay, we'll talk about it later, and not being able to say when we'd talk about it or when we'd decide on it, and not knowing why. So it was, I think, a bigger deal than I realized, because then once the next step of the process happened, it was like, everything deflated and everything felt okay and normal, and like, now I understand. And so it was this big
next step of the process being
when brought in on this transition,
being brought in on the transition, because all the transition things were happening, but I wasn't privy to that information.
Behind the scenes,
because I wasn't on elder team, but being a part of the core team, there's lots of things connected, obviously, to the transition and the movement, or the waiting, or that pause things around here organizationally. But the point of me being on the team and us all doing the team was to keep things moving and organized and covered well organizationally. So I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know where the disconnect is, but it's very frustrating, because I don't know why we're doing this if we're not moving through the process. But I didn't know there was a process in the background, because I couldn't know at that time.
Right.
So once the decision was made to have a team, and you guys wanted me to be a part of that team, then I was able to be let in on why all the things were weird and wonky like they were. And then I was like, oh, well, that makes so much more sense. And please don't put anybody else in that position ever again, because that was really hard. And, that's just where you learn and you grow, and,
lots of things
you don't know until you don't know, and then you know, and you're like, oh, all right. Right.
And part of the idea for me anyway was bring you into that circle. I knew it was early and I knew it was before you could know everything, but I still wanted you in the circle to get you used to these relationships.
Yep.
And also just because there were things we were deciding and there were things that were happening, so you could be a part of those. It just made it difficult because there was a whole other part that you couldn't know yet. So it's just one of those things, kind of a tension to live in.
Yep.
But we made it.
We did. We made it. Lots of grace.
So shortly thereafter, really the beginning of this year, January 2025, the elder team asked you and Michael and Josh and Jill Carter to be a part of the elder team. And for years, anytime we would bring up, hey, is it time to add more people to the elder team, y'all's names were there front, on the forefront. And so it was, we went through, we're still in that process, actually. We're still in this year-long kind of evaluation of y'all evaluating if you still want to be a part of the elder team and whatnot. But it was really a no-brainer to bring you guys in, and just what both of you bring individually and as a couple here at New Hope. And it was, and so that process has helped a lot in the information flowing freely and all of that it's been really great. That brings us to kind of this year, and so in January, obviously we let the whole church know. We've been in this process throughout the year in 2025 of letting everybody know, the staff, the church, and then just been in this process of talking about this transition throughout the year, and also just as a team covering some of those big topics that we have been through as a church throughout the years, and Keith's kind of been working with us as a team to make sure that we're kind of shored up on those. And one of the things that, with bringing Natalie onto this team, and something that we've always been about, is women in leadership. And for me, it's never been a question, because New Hope is pretty much the church that I know. I went to a Lutheran church for a little while and stuff like that, but I never, being at New Hope and having such strong women leaders like Lynn and Natalie and others that have really spoken into my life, like I never had a question about it. But and I think it's coming
Alicia
from
Tubbs.
Oh, so many. Wendy Good, so many. And also just under your leadership of always seeing you empower women. And so I know this week, we you shared on a Sunday about kind of your idea. You had a little sidebar. So we thought it'd be great in this podcast to talk about that again, and just, kind of turn it over to you and talk a little bit about how you landed on this women in leadership here at New Hope, and that topic, and kind of where you've landed and where we've landed as a church.
Yeah, so women in leadership has been something that's been part of our DNA from the beginning. I didn't actually grow up with that mindset. Growing up in the church, it was, the men lead and the women take care of the kids and bring the food and clean up afterwards. And that was kind of the thing. And every once in a while, they might get to be in a meeting as the wife of a leader, but not as a leader. And so you grow up in that, you just kind of think that's normal, and that's just the way it is. And then I went to Youth with a Mission, and it was like, just there were all these incredible leaders, men and women, leading alongside each other and leading all over the world and changing nations and all just crazy stuff. And then I'm sitting in Asia one day, in a very closed nation, and I end up meeting this lady, and she starts to tell her story, and she's like, "Well, I'm the pastor of this church," and I'm like, "Oh, really? It's an underground church," and said, "Tell me more about it." She's got thousands of people under her that she's helping to develop and disciple, and leaders she's developing, and all this stuff. And come to find out, her husband had been arrested for being a follower of Jesus and executed.
Wow.
And so now she's thrust into this leadership role, not because she was vying for it or trying to get it. It's just the way it happened. And in that setting, it was just, and it's just the way it was. And she was literally changing the world and changing thousands of people's lives. And I'm like, how do you explain this if you don't believe in this? And yet here it is. And, and so it sent me on this journey and study and digging into it. And then I met Doug Fike, who has been a mentor in my life for many years. And he really pushed this out even further with me and with our elder team. I remember before we actually started New Hope, we had an elder retreat, and I was already in this place of like, I'm good with this and I want to empower women and all this. But there were other people on our team who weren't there yet, and Doug was meeting with us. And so all the guys were over here and all the ladies were back behind them over here. And it was supposed to be our elder team. And Doug's like, I'm not doing this. And we're like, doing what? It's like, them over there and you guys over here, I'm not doing that. We're either a team or we're not.
So good.
And so that was a huge thing for those ladies in particular, and just kind of broke the walls down. Even after that, we tried to have an elder team meeting one time, because we had been a team preparing to launch New Hope, and we had, it was originally 3 couples, me and Susan and Terry and Patty Ramsey and Stan and Lynn Burgess, and that was what was going to become the elder team. But then after we launched, we were like, well, I guess now we're officially elders, so the ladies don't come to the meeting. And so we actually tried it. So it was me and Stan Burgess and Terry Ramsey.
Oh my!
And we were there a few minutes, and I just kind of stopped the meeting, and I'm like, guys, this is so. I like you guys, but this is so boring. This is so boring. It's so terrible. We need our wives here. We've been doing this with our wives all along the way. What are we doing? And they're like, you're so right. Gosh, this is awful. So we made the change and, just invited them in. And it's not just that. It's also taking a fresh look at the scriptures and looking at how Jesus empowered women.
Yeah.
Yep.
I shared this Sunday, but, the first person Jesus appeared to after the resurrection was a woman, Mary Magdalene, and then he sends Mary to go preach to his disciples that he is risen, because they're still not believing it. And, you got the woman at the well. No self-respecting Jewish rabbi in the first century would be talking to a woman in public, much less a Samaritan woman. Jesus intentionally goes there on purpose, sits down with this woman at the well, and has this big, huge personal and theological conversation with her. The disciples come back and they're just shocked. They're flabbergasted that he's there with this woman. What is he doing? What's he doing? And it's so intentional. He's just doing this, and she ends up, her life gets totally transformed. And she goes and preaches to all of her friends and neighbors, and all these people in this Samaritan village come to know Jesus because this woman is being used by God to lead them toward him. Yeah. And so I don't know how, this is what Jesus was doing. It was so intentional and so life-changing for people.
And this was in a time when women couldn't even testify in court.
No.
They had no rights to be the first one to testify to something
about anything,
or to share anything, especially the resurrection of the Christ.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. This is I have very, very good friends that I respect and love very much who disagree with me on this. It's okay. It's not a salvation issue. It's not something that we need to, I don't feel like I have to convince anybody of this. It's just what we do, and it's who we are, and we're trying to follow Jesus in it. And it's okay if you don't see it that way, if you disagree. But it's what we do, and it's who we are, and we're genuinely believe that's what Jesus did. Yeah. And there's a couple of difficult passages, that you have to wrestle with if you're person who genuinely wants to follow the Bible and follow, the New Testament, which we are those people.
Yep.
So there's a couple of Paul passages you have to wrestle with. I actually did a document recently. It's about a 4-page Google Doc. We'll make it available on the podcast, but you can it's not exhaustive, but it gives scriptures and it gives examples of women in leadership. I also wrestle with those 2 passages, kind of give some context, those difficult passages. And also there's a podcast on there I found really helpful, and some articles I think would be helpful if you want to relook at it. And I would just say to anybody who's watching this, if you're wrestling with it, just take some time to look at the scriptures and what they actually say, and not what someone told you or taught you in the past. Like, honestly, go before God and God, what are you saying about this? Help me understand this from your perspective, and see what he says. And I just think it's an honor. I feel like it's an honor for us to walk this out. It's a privilege that Jesus called us to this, because there's a historical reality to women being oppressed and pushed down and not acknowledged for who they are. And I think it feels so gospel to me, so Jesus to me, to elevate women and say, you know what, you matter and your voice matters and you have something to bring to the table. I just don't think that God ever intended to eliminate half of his army by keeping women from leading. I just don't think that's the way it works. Yeah. So that's me. And if you disagree, I get it, and it's okay, and we can still be friends.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for this episode, I think that gets us to kind of where we are, and we have more stuff coming. We're going to do some episodes of maybe bringing you and Susan in and talking about where you guys are in this process, and maybe you interviewing me and Melanie, and who knows, we may bring everybody's spouses in here and get everybody in on the fun. But yeah, it's we're going to continue with more episodes, kind of talking about how this transition is happening, and especially over the next couple of months. And so we hope you guys will continue to join us. We'll have that Google Doc in the show notes here, maybe a little QR code down in the corner to get you where you need to go. And it's great stuff that Keith has been studying and sharing with us here at New Hope. So we hope you guys will join us for the next episode. We'll see you later.